Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Once more, thank you for joining us on week 12 of our weekly connections with the community. As always, I want to start by thanking you for your continuous support for the many solutions that you have provided in between each meetings. Fascinating how at the end of last meeting we casually spoke about socks and and now we have 500 socks to give out to people in the community. That was just really solution oriented, and the solutions are coming from this group. So I want to thank you for that. We have, I'm hoping, and I've been thinking about how I phrase this, but we seem to have weathered the storm with the arrivals in the month of November, which was phenomenal, with 228 being received in 1 month, and I think 312 since September 15th, I think. So that was a phenomenal month, and that's why I say I think we have weathered the storm, unless something changes for next week. But we have seen the pace of arrivals slow down. Not to say they're not coming in. We've seen that pace slow down, giving us some breathing space, giving the team some breathing space as we prepare for eventual arrivals. In this session, basically, we're going to do what we've always done, really focus on just provide weekly updates. So what has happened since the last time we had this update. And then we will talk a little bit about the command center that we mentioned last 2 weeks, actually, how that is progressing, how it's evolving, and really emphasize collaboration as community stakeholders as we continue to welcome these Afghans, understanding that this is even going to be more than just a welcome. This is really going to be working alongside these families for the next few years. With that in mind, I'm going to turn this over to Blake, our Senior Vice President here for programs, for the weekly update, and he'll then talk about the command center as well. Blake, over to you.
Thanks, Ray. So hello all. After a couple of weeks without me here, I'm sure happy to be back, talk with you all about our update. So yeah, like Ray said, we'll go through our weekly update, and then we'll talk a little bit more about our command center, and we have some of our command center staff. We'll turn over here to talk a bit more about what they do. But jumping right into the update, as Ray mentioned, we have seen a slower pace of arrivals over the last 2 weeks. With about 16 folks arriving last week. We do expect to have about 24 once this week is said and done. But where we are as of today is 312 total Afghan parolee arrivals since the end of September. And so, as you know, our initial resettlement amount was 300. We pushed that up to 500. The feds have assured cases up to about 520 or so individuals that we expect. So at 312, we are much more than halfway through this resettlement period. There is some news that leads us to believe that we will see a further rise in arrivals over the next several weeks. And that is as a result of, we've been notified from our partner in DC at USCRI that they expect that the APA settlement will wrap up in the middle of January, around the middle of January. So what we come to understand is that the program has resettled more folks over the first several weeks than was initially anticipated. So they think there can actually be a shorter window on APA resettlement. If that is the case, we still will expect about 50 a week from here on out. And that's not to say the last Afghan parolee will be here on the 15th of January. That is saying that they expected things to have be mostly wrapped up by that point. That is about a month earlier than they initially anticipated. But what that does mean is that we will expect then at that point to see Afghan SIV arrivals as well as refugee arrivals. And so, we framed a lot of the conversation around Afghan arrivals because we knew that program was going to be short and intense, and it has been that. But we do want to draw attention to the fact that once Afghan parolee resettlement is wrapped up, we will be moving into a period of resettlement for our 50 SIVs and 1,000 refugees, of which of the 1,000, only about 30 or so have actually been resettled thus far this year. So we still have very many refugees that will be resettling in a very short period of time. Some of the questions that have been asked is how will Omicron or travel restrictions related to the variant impact travel? And the answer is we don't know yet, but we have not been told that this will eliminate travel as summarily, right? But we do know that it could cause a slowdown in arrivals for the time being. But we don't have any indication that there's an intent to slow arrivals in response to the variant at this point, though that is obviously very fluid. The next update that we have is around housing. The Institute is now in a position where we are authorizing 6-month leases. And what we mean by that is that we are working with landlords to sign on to lease agreements for 6 months, where the Institute will be listed as the contracting organization and will be responsible for moving clients into that housing. We expect that this will free up a number of housing opportunities that have heretofore not really been available to us due to our construct of intending to not sign leases on clients' behalf. We are letting landlords know that at the conclusion of that 6-month period, the clients in those apartments will of course have an opportunity to sign on a lease for another 6 months, but that is not by any means guaranteed. At this point, we do feel that we have enough grant funding and donated funds to help support rent for that initial 6-month period, which is why we feel we're comfortable moving into a position to be able to assure landlords that we can be on that lease for that initial 6-month period. We are, of course, still seeking relationships with landlords. However, now we are in the process of contacting brokers who might be able to assist us in sourcing apartments across the region. We know that their professional expertise and their access to vacancies is something that can be useful to us. And we do feel that we have funding built in to some of our grant proposals, specifically our Afghan parolee assistance social services program that has dedicated funding for housing that allows us to expend funding for contractors to assist us in sourcing housing, and that those funds are best used by enlisting the help of professionals in this space. And we hope in the coming weeks to be able to provide you with updates on the organizations that we're partnering with to assist us in brokering deals with landlords for those apartments. I would also say that we, of the 232 or so arrivals that we've had over the course of the month of November, we have about 120 of those folks now into apartments. So we're well on our way, but the fact of the matter is folks are staying in hotels for 3 weeks. And coming up next week, if some of those cases are still there, some of them will have been there a full month. And so this continues to be a very challenging situation that requires collaboration across the region, on the part of the hotels that are very generously offering reduced rates for these rooms, to the partner organizations that are helping ensure that the needs of folks are met while they're in this temporary housing. And so with that, I want to thank our partners at Oasis and Welcome Neighbor, who have assisted in ensuring that our clients there are well taken care of and looked after. I want to, at this point, shout out the fact that we're hoping that we can have more volunteer-led organizations that are interested in providing support for resettlement, help us in a variety of areas. But I don't want to step on the toes of our command center team. We'll talk a little bit more about how we're partnering with community organizations to provide services to new arrivals. I also want to thank St. Louis Public Schools and Pattonville School District, who are right now undertaking efforts to register children in temporary housing for school. The parents that we've talked to have been very concerned about education cessation for their children, as they did not receive education services at the military bases. So that means that children have fundamentally been out of school since flight from Afghanistan, and that could have been as early as August. So the parents are very happy that their children are getting a chance to get connected to education. And we want to thank SLPS and Pattonville for being very innovative in their design and delivery of school registration and partnering with us to accommodate the needs of these new arrivals. We really thank you very much for your help with that. And so as always, we'll kind of save some Q&A for the end. But at this point, I'd like to move on to our discussion around the command center. And I would like to introduce you to our command center staff on the call with us today. We have Carlos Suarez, who is our lead logistics manager, as well as Najibullah Nazari, who is our support staff member. And I believe I saw Pedro on the call as well. Yes, Pedro Zaraza is our director of IT and operations, who is providing technical assistance and support to the command center team. And with that, I will turn it over to Carlos to talk to you a little bit more about the command center and how it's operating. Carlos?
Thanks, Blake, and great to see everyone and meet everyone here on this call this afternoon. And I look forward to meeting and talking with those that haven't been connected with yet. But yes, essentially, as Blake was talking about the command center, so we've established this command center here at the Institute to really support the function of collaboration amongst our community partners, staff, and clients. That includes working on and really working on the immediate needs of the new arrivals coming to St. Louis, so we can really effectively deploy resources, human resources, and volunteers, as well as address any immediate needs that the arrivals have coming to St. Louis. And this also includes working with our community partners, as Blake mentioned, Oasis and Welcome Neighbor, and formal organizations that formally want to get involved. And we have a process for that, such as developing a more formal MOUs based on needs and capacity that our partners have. But then also individuals that want to get involved through our volunteer program here at the Institute. We do have a way for individuals to get involved and integrate into that process based on the needs. So part of this is also tracking information as issues come about throughout needs of the arrivals. We will track that information, see who is available within our resources, and then make sure that information is captured and shared within our team as well to follow up on any pressing matters, but also just for documentation. Some of the most, I guess, biggest needs that we are working to address are arrivals at the airport, and just being a meet and focal point for the arrivals as they come, and then also pairing families and individuals with arrivals throughout the course of their welcoming here, as Ari mentioned earlier, to really walk alongside the arrivals and integrate them into the St. Louis community. So that's high level points on the command center here. We will be operating on a daily basis, and we have created a communication system between any urgent needs and matters between the arrivals, our team, and community partners. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on to this, Blake, but I think that sums it up for the most part from my end. And I'm sorry, Najib wasn't able to join us right now. He's working with a client as of we speak. So hope to have him on the call. And he's been really essential in this process, as he's also can relay with our clients and speak the language as an Afghan as well.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. I think one thing I want to highlight here is the fact that there are many community organizations that are providing support. And one challenge that we have faced is clear lines of communication to elevate needs that possibly only the caseworker here at the Institute that might be able to address. We want to ensure that there's space for any community partner that wants to provide assistance to do so. One main concern that we have regarding communication around clients across multiple providers is confidentiality. We have been notified by the Department of State that they have accurately identified cases where countries or bad actors have been stealing data and taking information and using that against Afghan evacuees, whether that is punishing family members or arresting family members or holding them for ransom. We have seen any number across the country. Organizations like ours have seen these challenges result in real challenges for the individuals that we're attempting to serve. And so we are really putting an emphasis, the utmost emphasis on really creating confidential means of communication and coordinating between partners who are assisting clients, creating a platform, right, for confidentially reporting information that can assist clients without putting client information at risk. Part of the reason why we want to make sure that we are partnering with organizations through our command center is to ensure that there is organizational support for our standards around confidentiality. And so we do welcome any organization that would like to connect with us around our command center in providing direct support to clients, whether that's through our airport pickups or 24-hour home visits or continued support. And so how can you or your organization become a community partner? Well, you can start by reaching out to us and Carlos and talk about what you might be interested in providing or what your organization might be able to support. What that will then do is generate the creation of a memorandum of understanding that will set clear guidelines around communication and maintaining confidentiality, as well as outline some of the service areas that your organization might be able to help with. So if you or your organization is interested in connecting with our command center, I encourage you, of course, to reach out to Carlos, and Carlos has provided his email there in the chat. For anybody who'd like to learn more.
Thank you very much, Blake. Thank you very much, Blake and Carlos, for the work goes on. I think as we embark on this unprecedented resettlement effort, we're learning as we go along and adapting to the circumstances as challenges present themselves. And I think the command center is one of the ways in which we're responding. Under normal circumstances, the way we've done resettlement is that people arrive, we pick them up at the airport, and we take them into apartments. In this circumstance, we are having to deal with this transitional period where people are spending some time in hotels just because of the circumstances are different, and that comes with its own challenge. And I think by recognizing that there is not just one organization that has all the answers, and being able to leverage the strength of other organizations as we are doing in programs and other areas is really the way that we go. But whatever happens in this process, it's St. Louis that is being positioned as a welcoming community, and we have to do this together. So I want to thank the team, and I want to thank our partners, everybody who has been helpful. We had an extensive meeting yesterday with Oasis International and Welcome Neighbor STL, where we constantly discussing ways in which we improve and enhance this collaboration to the best interest of the people that we serve and for the St. Louis community. So this is one step forward, and we're going to keep working as and adapting as challenges present themselves. At this point, we will open up for any questions. I see that Carlos has provided his email address and the extension number of the command center. So by calling the institute number and dialing that extension 159, you could raise challenges that any arrival or Afghan that you are working with is facing, and we should be able to find the logistical means to support that. I see that Linda has her hands up. So Linda, please, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to stress something. I work with the Missouri Office of Refugee Administration within the Institute, and as such, I was over in Kansas City at one of the resettlement agencies' sites for Afghan evacuees in a hotel for over 8 days. But just to let you know that I wanted to take pictures to kind of share, then I realized there are bad actors. We can't take pictures of the children are so cute, but you can't take pictures of the kids. Can't take pictures of the adults, and you cannot take anything that anything that identifies the hotel that they're at either, because there are. And Blake said this. I cannot stress this enough. There are bad actors out there, and they can identify hotels because of certain color patterns, things like this. So I had very many volunteers there that I had to ask them to not take pictures, even though it was tempting. You just can't. So if you see anybody taking a picture, I would suggest, even though it seems innocent and it may be a joyful experience, that you want to be cognizant of the fact that what may be joyful to you may be hurtful to somebody else. So, and that's just what I want to add in there.
Thank you very much, Linda, for highlighting that. Any other questions?
Hey, Ari, I'm just going to give a mention to the Christian Friends of New Americans, because they are also collecting coats and shoes for us as well. So we're going to be orchestrating that next week, and just want to thank them. And that's another way that we're partnering.
Yeah, thank you very much for highlighting that. And they've been doing incredible work. I know several members on the team have been in touch with them. So shout out to Stanish and his team. Any other questions or comments? Well, seeing none, we'll gain some time here. But again, as always, thank you very much for your collaboration, your support, the flexibility working with the school districts. That has really been helpful. We're making progress. As I said, we're adapting, and I thank you all for that creativity and patience in this process. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and we'll be back next week for further updates. Carrie, did I miss something?
That was just an email that you had received last week that we talked about. So one of the efforts that Array had mentioned that we're working towards is airport pickups and things like that. I thought you had been contacted by the airport that there might be a welcoming office that we would be able to eventually have as a post for the Institute for New Arrivals. That is all I've heard of it. Just, balls rolling forward and efforts to make St. Louis more welcoming for our newly arriving families. So that's just, again, an update. We're working on, as we said, getting like vests and welcome signs for those who might be doing airport pickups for easy identification, as well as just providing that welcoming environment. But that next step might be that in collaboration with Lambert too. So just wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm. Well, shout out to the city of St. Louis as well for helping coordinate that. I know we're going to work on the paperwork to get that done. And yes, we will have an opportunity to welcome our guests or our new arrivals, our new neighbors in a way that they would always remember, and hopefully it would make them stay in St. Louis. Well, thank you very much for your time today. And like I said, we'll connect with you again next week. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.